Hey, it's Scream 6 Day. That's right, I saw Scream 6. I was lucky enough to attend an early preview screening, which is always exciting. And so today I'm here to talk about the spoilers. Spoilers, that's just a fair warning. This video is going to be full of spoilers, so I don't want to hear anybody getting on my ass about this. There is a fair warning right there. As the title suggests, and as I'm suggesting right now, there are spoilers for Scream 6 specifically. If that wasn't apparent enough, I know it was, but just in case, Scream 6 spoilers are headed your way, okay? And so with all that out of the way, let's actually get to talking about the film. So, Scream 6 opens with Samara Weaving's new character named Laura Crane, who's nervously awaiting for a date who is late. We learn that she is a film professor teaching college classes as she flirts with her late date on the phone as he makes his way there. Before he actually gets there though, he ends up saying that he is lost before luring her into a creepy dark alleyway outside. The guy turns out to be the Flash actor from the recent Spider-Man films, and the character's name is Jason Carvey. And it's revealed that he's basically a rip-off Ghostface, intended to kill Laura as practice before he goes on to kill Sam and Tara, the main characters from the previous film. He also may be killing this character out of possible revenge just for getting a bad grade on a film essay, which is kind of hilarious, but anyway. But the motivation of Jason is basically explained that he wants to continue Richie's plan from the previous film. You know, Jack Quaid from The Boys, that character from the previous film's plan, in that he wants to basically finish the story of the Woodsboro murders in real life so that he can make his own stab movie about it all. But all of these details prove to not be that important though, when everything is cut short, when he and his roommates are taken care of, in which I mean killed. Followed by a classic threatening Ghostface phone call with a fun little reveal of a mutilated body in the fridge, that of being the roommates. We then get to the climax opening kill where Jason is finally killed by Ghostface. And we're about 8 minutes in now and already have a body count of 3, and this is where we kick off, where we finally introduce to our main characters. At a party, there are Tara and Chad, his sister Mindy, as well as her girlfriend Annika, and Ethan, who is Chad's roommate. And basically from there, we can already see that there are 2 new characters introduced probably just for suspicion. You know, as soon as they chuck in new characters, we're like, they may or may not be the killer. And of course, as we know, going into a Scream film, everyone is a suspect. Meanwhile, away from the party, Sam Carpenter, the protagonist from the previous film, is in a therapy session, spilling her guts out about the traumas from the ongoings-on that happened in the previous film, leaving hints of her dark tendencies as she does so, Dexter Morgan style, which also leaves the therapist that she's speaking to a little bit scared of her, and who doesn't actually really want to talk to her all that much, leaving her basically feeling completely alone and isolated with nobody really to turn to. So she says screw this and leaves the therapy session and goes off to that party that Tara's at to take her away from there basically. Being her big sister, she just wants to protect her, despite the fact that Tara actually isn't really having that difficult a time letting go of the past as much as her big sister is. And so along the way home, they argue about safety and whatnot before Sam is then harmlessly attacked by a random stranger on the street who throws a drink at her or whatever. And basically though, we see that Sam is infamous in the streets of New York. She's very well known by everybody around because of the situation that happened in the previous film. Everybody knows about it. It's hot gossip, and basically there have been rumors flying around about what actually happened. So much so that they have escalated into proving that maybe Sam is like some sort of crazed psycho or something like that. Everybody is kind of freaked out by her, and she's known as she walks down the streets as everybody is silently judging her and all that. Anyway, it's here now where the main group go back to their apartment, where we see that a bubbling romance has begun between Tara and Chad. But after this, straight after this, it's seen on the TV that the first murders from the beginning of the film are now being shown on the news, leaving Sam insistent that they must immediately get out of Dodge. Tara, refusing to leave her entire life just on a whim though, asks her roommate Quinn to call her dad, Detective Wayne Bailey, who says that it's serious and that Sam's ID was found at the crime scene. And Dad Cop now asks them to come into the station, a reasonable request at this point to be fair. On the way though, Sam and Tara get attacked by a masked Ghostface, avoiding him by jumping into a convenience store nearby. Ghostface though, of course, follows, killing a few of the unfortunate shoppers around, killing them dead, stabbing them and stuff, and takes out the checkout guy and takes his shotgun basically, because he pulled out a shotgun to protect everybody, because this is America and people in convenience stores just have shotguns. Anyway, so now Ghostface has that shotgun, because that's what happens when you have guns in situations. Let's not get too political. I hate guns. Anyway, but now Ghostface has a shotgun, and this is the first time that we have actually seen a masked Ghostface using a gun. You know, we've seen once they reveal themselves and take the mask off, and you know, it's Billy Loomis or it's this and that, whoever it is. Sure, they have guns all the time. We've never actually seen a still masked Ghostface using a gun, as he takes out one of the unfortunate shoppers with said gun, and a little sort of silent chase ensues between Sam and Tara. Is it Tara or Tara? I don't know. I'll probably interchangeably say either or for the rest of the video. Anyway, all of our named characters flee. They get away safely, of course, and as does Ghostface, who flees the crime scene as well. Our main characters, though, go to the police station now. And one of the things that we learn there is that the Ghostface killer has been leaving the Ghostface masks at the scenes of the crimes. And it soon becomes clear that they're trying to make Sam look bad, basically framing her as the killer, which isn't helped by the fact that later the therapist who Sam was talking to earlier in the film and was already suspicious of her also gets a knock on the door a bit later and a subsequent stab to the face by Ghostface just a bit later. What's more is that the mask found at the convenience store also has Richie's DNA on it, which is especially odd since he died over 5 years ago in the continuity of this film. It is around here where a fan favorite Kirby is also revealed to still be alive. Yes, Kirby Reed shows up, and we kind of already knew that because of all the trailers, but she shows up and everybody's happy to see her. Anyway, it is revealed that she is now an FBI agent since we last saw her, and she explains that she was technically dead for 4 minutes during the 2011 Woodsboro attacks, but was obviously resuscitated and then went on to live a life of doing good. Now she's an FBI agent, and now she's here to help. So Sam and Tara, now with confirmation that the first murders, though, were not at random and definitely had something to do with them, express their desire to leave the city. But cop dad Wayne Bailey denies, explaining that they can't just leave because they are persons of interest. So now, stuck in a city with a killer on the loose, they basically just leave the station not knowing what the hell to do. Outside, Gail Weathers awaits among a sea of reporters, and Tara punches her because that's just kind of the classic Scream thing to do, you know? The reporters showing up because murders are taking place and all that kind of stuff. This stuff always happens in these films, and it's always a pleasure to see Gail Weathers show up again. But it is later now where the group is in the park, and Mindy is talking about the rules that Randy would normally take in the first couple films, where she goes on to explain that they are now in a franchise, the stakes are higher than ever, and that anybody can be killed or be the killer. Even the legacy characters can be involved with all this stuff, and everything's really all up in the air. Basically, the rules are that there are no rules, and anything can happen, leaving us in a state of worry for all of the characters that we like, because, you know, who the hell knows what's going to happen? Is there actually plot armor for these characters or not? I would argue by the end that yes, there's still heavy plot armor, but I will get to that soon. This is, though, where the main group, called the Core 4 as they call themselves, and company, then go back home to Tara's apartment. And there it's apparent that the roommate Quinn is in the bedroom with a date. We assume so, as she is described as a sex-positive person. You know, times have changed, and we don't kill people for being sluts in horror movies anymore. That's an outdated thing, and now we have the sex-positive person who is shown in a positive light. But actually, maybe we still do kill those sorts of characters, because it's then revealed that Ghostface is actually the one in her company in the other room at the moment, as we see when the across the building neighbor, cute boy Danny, who they call him, and who Sam is romantically involved with, though once I mentioned that in the middle of all this shit, sounds so convoluted. Anyway, he witnesses the violence taking place upon Quinn, and in an attempt to warn the main group of what's going on, he calls out to them but fails, before eventually settling to airdrop a picture of the attack to all of the characters, which is just kind of, I don't know, like, it's urgent, but it's also funny to just like airdrop something so horrible and urgent and stuff. It's just kind of funny. I don't know if it's meant to be, but I kind of thought it was. Anyway, it's all too late though when they open the door and Quinn comes out throat slit and dead. Her date is also dead in the bathroom too, and the rest of our characters attempt to flee. In the scuffle, Mindy gets slashed on the arm and her girlfriend Annika gets brutally stabbed. She gets stabbed in the stomach. Ghostface freaking twists the knife and pulls it up through her like belly, and it's just like, ouchie mama. That's just not a nice thing to witness, not a nice thing to see, and that girl is most likely not making it out alive. Desperately though, cute boy neighbor Danny, as they call him, gets a ladder and gives them a pathway between the buildings, like like a scaffolding leading them from window to window at a great height. One of the best horrific moments in this entire film, just by the way, as they slowly make their way across this ladder with danger just in all directions. They could easily fall, Ghostface could catch up to them, all this kind of stuff. It's a really great scene. Anyway, Sam goes across first and gets across safely, as does Mindy, and then Annika, who does not hurry her horses to cross, predictably doesn't make it when she takes her sweet ass time not getting away. So she falls off that ladder, which Ghostface promptly shakes around, and she hits her face on a dumpster on the way down, bam, and she dies immediately, presumably anyway. She really got the short end of the stick with the violent, brutal stabbing, and then just a big slam to the face off of that ladder. Definitely a dead girl right there, and I feel very bad for that fictional character. Anyway, after this, the police and the medics show up. Gail also shows up once more, insisting that she's there to genuinely help, off the record as she insists, and she also explains to us, the audience, for a moment that Sidney Prescott will not be showing up in this movie, and that we should all shut up about it because she deserves to be happy after everything that has happened in all the previous films. It's just kind of a funny little moment where they literally pause everything just to say, look, just to be clear, Sidney's not going to be in it, don't get your hopes up. It's also in this moment where Ethan also conveniently shows up at around this time, who wasn't present during the attack either, with an alibi of being at a class, surrounded by witnesses who can verify this. But this is never followed up on, and I'll get to that a bit later. Anyway, it is now where Gail Weathers says that she has found a property that's registered to the first two killers, Jason Carvey and whatever his roommate's name was. At the location, which proves to be an abandoned theater, which is just awesome by the way, they find this epic shrine of all Ghostface memorabilia, dedicated to all things revolving around the Woodsboro murders, the Ghostface costumes being the main centerpiece. However, the masks are missing, as they are all being used at each kill to frame Sam. It's here where Sam, though, sees Ghost Billy Loomis once again, like she did in the previous film. And it's super cheesy whenever he shows up. I don't know how I feel about them. I don't know. It's just kind of weird seeing him show up again, you know? Like, it's like these weird, out of place, hallucinatory scenes, but clearly, you know, the directors and everything want these scenes to keep showing up. They want these to return, as it's here to stay at this point, moving forward. But it's just like, I get it. They're going for a dark future thing, being like, oh no, where is Sam headed? Where is Sam Carpenter gonna go? You know, that's what they're trying to do with these sorts of weird Billy Loomis hallucination scenes. But to me, they just feel really out of place and just weird. But it's not too bad seeing Skeet Ulrich again. Is that how you pronounce his name? I think that's how you say it. And it is kind of a fun little Easter egg there for you if you're a big fan of these films. I don't think it's too bad, even though he clearly does look a lot older, even though it's clearly supposed to be on the day of his death that we're seeing him. But that's really besides the point as well. It is just a bit funny that Ghostface Billy Loomis keeps showing up, and I just think it's a bit of a weird choice, but here he is again. Anyway, the Core 4 and co, though, mostly Kirby though, comes up with a plan to trace Ghostface's call, sending Gail packing first though, because they don't trust her not to report on everything going on. And so they basically decide to trace the call in a van in the park, thinking they're in a public space and thinking that that's kind of safe. Mindy, though, expresses concern when she says that Randy died in a park, in daylight, in a van, exactly like this. But they successfully do trace the call with no danger in direct sight. Danger, though, happens to be now where Gail Weathers is, at her apartment where she is, because they told her to go away. And so now, of course, Gail is vulnerable. It's here where we cut to Gail and her new boyfriend, Boy Toy, and I'm like, excuse me? When did Dewey die? Alright, 5 years ago. I guess that was a while ago now, but still, I can't believe she went off with another guy. What about Dewey? I can't believe it. But anyway, obviously they get attacked. Ghostface shows up at the apartment, the boyfriend is killed, and an intense battle that showcases Gail's quick-wittedness, smart-assness, and sense of humor, though. She also gets attacked by Ghostface, but doesn't quite die. Very nearly dies. She gets stabbed a couple times, I believe. There was at least slashing. There was something going on. She definitely got a bit injured with that knife. She got stabbed, and then she's about to get stabbed, like in the face. You know, she's on the ground. Ghostface is on top of her, about to get her, before Sam and Tara show up and save the day as Ghostface flees, before all the cops show up, just way too late. And it is said that Gail has a weak pulse. She's unconscious now, but she does have a pulse. false. And yeah, so basically it's confirmed that later on she is still alive, but this is the last time that we see Gale in the actual film, which I thought was kind of weird that she didn't show up for the final scene. But anyway, my point is Gale Weathers did not die, and thank God, because I don't think that I could have, I don't think I could have handled seeing another one of the original characters getting killed. After Dewey last year, I was so mad about that. I still like Scream 5 and everything, but I was mad at that decision. I'm like, really? They brought him back after all this time just to kill him? And I definitely thought they were going to do the same thing here, because they're bringing the legacy characters back. They already stated that the legacy characters aren't safe. Things aren't looking good for them. And it's trending because they did it with Dewey first. I thought they were definitely going to kill Gale, but nope, she's still alive. Woo! And now it is Endgame, and we are in the third act. And the group basically make a plan to trap Ghostface in what they call a kill box in that Ghostface shrine, Halloween 2018 style. They're gonna trap him in there to kill him. And so now, headed back to the shrine, it is only now that the New York subway scene occurs, which has heavily been featured in the promotional material. All the trailers and everything all suggest that this train scene is a pretty big deal, but I always assumed that it was going to be early on in the film, and that they were going to just see Ghostface be a little bit suspicious, but nothing much was really going to happen during it. That's what I always thought was going to happen, and so when it didn't show up during the early scenes of the movie, I thought maybe the trailers had been misleading us, and maybe this was just a completely fake scene after all, and it was never actually going to show up. You know how the MCU does that sometimes and stuff like that? I thought that maybe this scene was not going to show up, and I was kind of disappointed by that, because it looked like a hell of a cool scene. But here it is, finally, we're at the train scene. Anyway, so the details of this is that Mindy and Ethan missed the first train that the others managed to get. This being Sam, Tara, Kirby, and Danny, with Wayne traveling separately, if I remember correctly. So now on two trains, though, the characters are isolated from each other. What's more, though, is that due to the film taking place around Halloween, is that they're also surrounded by costumed strangers, many of which are dressed as horror movie villains, and it becomes obvious that one of them is most likely the killer. The only one that takes any damage in the train scene, though, of our characters is Mindy, who gets stabbed in the stomach or whatever in one of the trains. However, she doesn't die and merely just misses out on the climax of the film for a second time, just as she did in the first film. She's down for the count and does not witness any of the stuff that happens at the very end, which she later complains about at the end of the film as well. Now arriving at the shrine, though, once again intending to trap the killer here, the group goes inside, locking themselves in with only one way in or out, baiting Ghostface their way. Once again, though, Sam gets distracted by Ghostface Billy, because of course she does. Of course, it's Ghostface Billy. As soon as anything Billy shows up, Sam is just like, oh, I'm in a trance. I'm suddenly in a trance all of a sudden. She just always does it. Anyway, when she finally snaps out of it, though, everybody around her has gone their separate ways within this kill box somewhere, within the shrine somewhere. She's then called by Cop Dad Wayne, who says that Kirby is the killer. But I think that we all know that things aren't quite as straightforward as this by this point. Meanwhile, Tara and Chad are at the candy bar of this weird shrine place and kiss before immediately being stabbed by a surprised ghosty boy. Sam rushes in, though, says that it's Kirby, and they all fight Ghostface before he subsequently stabs the ever-living crap out of Chad, along with a second Ghostface who then shows up too, presumably killing Chad dead. I mean, with all the stabs, he must be dead, right? He gets stabbed, so obviously he's dead, right? Well, I'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, Sam and Tara now run away, and they come across Kirby, who they are now scared of. But then Wayne also runs into the scene, and it all becomes a game of Among Us, with accusations flying all over the place. I don't really know if that's actually how Among Us works. I've never actually played it. Sorry, not even in lockdown. Anyway, Detective Wayne Bailey then shoots first and takes Kirby out with a non-fatal bullet right before Ghostface shows up behind him. And for a split second, we basically think that he's just killed Kirby and he's now about to die too, before he smiles and reveals that he is in fact one of the killers. The second Ghostface also reveals themselves, and all three killers this time stand upon our heroes before explaining the motivation, because of course they do. That's what happens in a Scream film. So the motivation basically goes like this. Basically, Cop Dad Wayne Bailey is really the father of Richie from the first film. You know, the guy who died, the boyfriend of Sam Carpenter in the first one. Jack Quaid from The Boys in the first film. he is his dad. And his two proteges also unmask and reveal themselves as well. The first of which is Quinn, who never really died earlier in the film, but staged her death along with her dad earlier in the film too. That's right, Richie is her brother, Wayne is her dad, all that kind of stuff. It's a whole long lost sibling situation, Scream 3 style, and it's a little eye-rolly if I'm being honest. It's a little bit dumb, but that's okay because it's still a fun film. And the third Ghostface is another fucking random sibling in Ethan, who turned out to also be one of the siblings of this family as well. And all three of them basically just want revenge for Richie and want to finish off what he started, leaving his legacy intact and killing anyone who had anything to do with his death, even adjacently. So basically, if he kills Sam and they frame her as being the Ghostface killer, it will retroactively possibly make it look like she was just the crazy one in the previous year and she was really the Ghostface killer. She was the one that unjustly killed Richie for no real reason, and it will spare him of being, judged as a criminal or whatever for the rest of his, not life, the rest of his death, the rest of his legacy, whatever the hell you want to call it. Basically, it will give him redemption in death, and they also, just want to get plain old revenge and all that stuff. Ultimately framing Sam for the murders to leave everything and get away with it all with no suspicions either. It's actually a pretty good motivation once you think about it. If not a little bit familiar. It sounds like a bunch of other motivations from these movies. You know what I mean? It does sound pretty familiar, but I'm okay with it because it does at least all tie up. It does make sense, and that's the least you can ask for, I suppose, but yeah. Anyway, so Wayne Bailey basically goes all supervillain mode. He starts laughing maniacally and it is hilarious. The end of this movie, as he's just gone absolutely insane and explains his evil plans and chaos ensues and everything, it's just really cheesy and funny for some reason to me. I don't know if that's intentional, but he really hams it up. He really just starts to be just like way over the top. The actor that played the dad cop character, who turns out to be the Ghostface killer guy, he really takes things over the top and it's really funny. Anyway, so Sam and Tara then fight back, and after a struggle involving Tara almost falling from a bit of a height down below to killer Ethan, the two work together using Billy Loomis's original knife to kill the various Ghostfaces. Ethan takes a knife straight into the mouth and throat from Tara, and Sam shoots Quinn dead straight to the head, before Sam then also kills Wayne Bailey via stabbing him approximately 90,000 times, providing another case that Sam may just fall to the dark side or whatever in a future film, giving in to her Billy Loomis style dark tendencies. She finally finishes Wayne Bailey off though by stabbing him straight into the eye before Danny arrives on the scene with a bunch of cops and whatnot to save the day. Yay, happy ending. It's here where we're also informed that Gail is fine, she's fine, so is Kirby. She also got stabbed, she got shot, but she's fine. Tara is also fine despite having gotten stabbed a couple times, and hell, even Chad is fine. Chad, who got stabbed also about 90,000 times by two different Ghostfaces at once, is absolutely fine, and everything's fine, and everybody's fine, and it's a happy ending, and hardly anybody died. And when you get stabbed, it never actually really matters that much unless they're playing the music that confirms that you're going to die. If you just get stabbed at any other time, basically it doesn't matter, and you're fine. You're just gonna forget about it. Like, not even get stitches or anything. Just you get stabbed and then just walk it off. 5 minutes later, it's gonna be gone. You're gonna have no wound. That's basically how stabs are treated in Scream 6. But it's okay, because it's a bit silly and it's fine, and I don't know. Do I really need very realistic stabbing consequences in my silly slasher movie? I don't know. Probably not, I suppose. If I want to be really fair to it, I don't really care about the logic all that much, as long as the story makes sense, which it does, and as long as it's all entertaining and just a good film overall, which I would argue it definitely is. I don't really care about the logic of the stabs too much, but it does feel like all of the characters that we like and already know all do have a strong case of plot armor. They are all just gonna be fine in Scream 7, presumably. Anyway, the film ends with a foreboding scene of Sam looking at the old Billy Loomis Ghostface mask, clearly feeling a kind of kinship to it and being drawn to it in a particular way, before though deciding to then drop it on the street and walk away from her traumas. So come on, this is obviously going to make a whole heap of money, and Scream 7 is probably going to come out next year, and Sam is probably once again going to get a little bit drawn to the dark side and see Ghost Billy Loomis again and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to continue this story, and I'm pretty excited. I just saw Scream 6 tonight. I'm already excited for Scream 7. Let's do it. Let's do it next year. Come on, we can do it. X and Pearl, they came out the same year. We can do Scream 7 this year. Let's do it. So that is the film. Those are the spoilers. spoilers. It just occurred to me, I did not wait to see if there was an after credits scene, and I hope there wasn't, because I've just explained everything, and if there was, I missed that, and I'm sorry. Let me know if there was. And that is all that I have to say for now. So yeah, that is the film. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot. I think it was good. No, it didn't tread new ground or anything like that, you know, it felt pretty familiar for a lot of it, but it was a Scream movie, you know? It did the job, it did what it was meant to do, it felt like a Scream movie, and I liked it quite a bit. So that's all that I have to say. Before you and I go though, please do that things, which I like, comment, share, subscribe, all that shit, and I'm outie. Goodbye.